My HOA tried to control my backyard pool, so I bought theirs and locked them out. Picture this. You're sipping lemonade by your private backyard pool, the sun warm on your face, not a care in the world. Then, out of nowhere, a homeowners association you don't even belong to demands you drain your pool or face fines, threats, and even attempts to mess with your mortgage. That's exactly what happened to me. But instead of rolling over, I turned their power play against them in a way they never saw coming by buying their prized community pool and banning them from it. This is the story of how I fought back, and trust me, it's a wild ride. My name's Tom Reynolds, and I live just outside a gated community in suburban Arizona, the kind with manicured lawns and a self-important HOA that thinks it runs the world. 5 years ago, when I bought my property, I made sure it wasn't under their control. The developer who sold me the land had built homes both inside and outside the HOA's jurisdiction, and I chose freedom, monthly fees, no nosy board members, and no rules about what color I could paint my mailbox. My home is modest but modern, with a sleek backyard pool that's my oasis. I work from home, so I'm out there almost daily, floating with a book or grilling burgers for friends. It's perfect, and best of all, it's mine. The HOA's big selling point was their community pool, a few blocks from my house. I'd pass it on walks with my dog, Max, and see it packed with kids splashing and parents fighting over lounge chairs. I never went in not because I wasn't allowed, but because my pool was quieter, cleaner, and didn't come with a side of chaos. What most residents didn't know was that the HOA didn't own the land under their precious pool. It was leased from the same developer who sold me my lot, a detail buried in fine print. I didn't think much of it until the HOA decided to make me their target. Enter Linda Harper, the new HOA president. Linda was the kind of person who thrived on control, issuing newsletters full of bolded rules and veiled threats about community standards. She'd patrol the neighborhood with her tiny poodle, snapping photos of anything that offended her sense of order. I didn't get the newsletters, but I'd grab one from the stack outside the pool gate out of curiosity. At first, I laughed off her antics, let her fuss over fence heights or rogue garden gnomes. My property was outside her reach, and I kept to myself, paying my taxes, keeping my lawn neat, and staying friendly but distant with neighbors. That peace was shattered one afternoon when I caught Linda peering through my fence, taking pictures of my pool. "Can I help you?" I asked, stepping outside. She barely looked up. "Just checking," she said, then scurried off. I should have demanded she delete those photos, but I let it slide, thinking it was a one-off. Big mistake. That was the spark that ignited a war I never wanted. A week later, a letter arrived on thick, embossed paper, like it was from some royal court. It claimed my unauthorized aquatic feature, violated community standards, and demanded I drain my pool immediately or face daily fines and further action, up to eviction. It even included photos of my pool, taken from Linda's sneaky stakeout. I read it 3 times, stunned. Eviction? I wasn't in the HOA. My deed, plat map, and purchase agreement all confirmed my property was exempt. This wasn't just overreach, it was harassment. I called the HOA office, hoping to clear up what I assumed was a mistake. They refused to let me speak to anyone and said I'd have to attend their monthly meeting to contest the violation. So, I marked my calendar, gathered every legal document I had, and walked into the community center, ready to set things straight. The room smelled of stale coffee, filled with retirees clutching mugs and bored homeowners checking their phones. Linda sat at the head table, looking like she was presiding over a congressional hearing. During the public comment session, I laid out my case calmly. My deed, the county plat, a letter from my title company, and a developer's document excluding my lot from the HOA. I thought it was open and shut. Linda barely glanced at my papers. "Your pool is visible from community homes," she said. "It disrupts our aesthetic standards. You need to comply, or there'll be consequences." I held my ground. "I'm not draining my pool. I'm not in your HOA, and I follow county laws. That's it." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't make us make an example of you." That meeting was a turning point. I'd hoped reason would prevail, but Linda didn't care about facts, she wanted control. The harassment escalated. Weekly violation notices stuffed my mailbox, each more aggressive, one stamped "Final Notice" in red ink, another claiming $500 daily fines. Anonymous calls came at odd hours, concerned citizens urging me to ditch my pool or accusing me of ruining the neighborhood. Then Linda crossed a line. She contacted my mortgage lender, claiming code violations and hinting at a lien on my property. My lender called, confused, but after I sent them my documents, they assured me the HOA had no case. The woman I spoke to was as furious as I was. By then, I knew being right wasn't enough. Linda wouldn't stop, and I needed to hit back hard. I remembered the community pool's land was leased, not owned, by the HOA. A quick trip to the county office confirmed it. The developer still held the title, and the lease was set to expire in a year. I called the developer, a semi-retired guy named George, and invited him to lunch. Over burgers, I laid out my situation. George was sympathetic, having dealt with the HOA's arrogance himself. He confirmed the lease's expiration date and said he'd consider selling the land if the price was right. That's when the plan took shape. While Linda bombarded me with fake fines and creepy photos, started snapping pictures of my trash cans. It was quietly negotiating to buy the land under the HOA's pool. George was tired of the HOA's lowball lease offers and happy to sell to me outright. We signed a purchase agreement, set to close just after the lease expired. My lawyer, who found the whole thing hilarious, ensured the deal was airtight. I also prepared a lease termination notice to deliver the second as the HOA's claim ended. I kept my plan secret, ignoring Linda's letters and waving cheerfully when she passed my house, which seemed to infuriate her more. I started folders for her harassment, one for letters, one for emails, one for transcribed voicemails, and one for photos of her lurking outside my fence. The more I ignored her, the bolder she got, and I was collecting evidence while biding my time. The HOA had no idea their pool parties were happening on land I'd soon own. The lease expired on a quiet Tuesday. That morning, I closed on the property title transferred, deed recorded. By noon, the HOA received notice that their lease was terminated and all access to the pool was revoked. I hired a crew to install a 6-foot privacy fence around the pool, complete with no trespass signs and a keypad-locked gate. That evening, Linda showed up, banging on the gate, demanding to see the property manager. I strolled out. "That's me," I said. She sputtered. "This is HOA land. You're disrupting our community." I smiled. "Check the county records. Your lease is done. I own it now." She threatened to sue. I offered my lawyer's email and walked away. The fallout was explosive. At the next HOA meeting, residents packed the community center, furious about losing pool access they'd paid for. Linda tried to blame me, claiming I'd exploited a legal loophole. But the truth spread fast. The HOA had failed to renew the lease. People demanded refunds for pool fees. Some called for Linda's resignation. The meeting ended in chaos, with 3 board members quitting on the spot. Within a month, Linda was ousted and moved out of the neighborhood, unable to handle the backlash. I turned the community pool into my paradise: new tiles, lounges, umbrellas, and a retractable awning. Friends came over for a grand reopening party, and we floated with drinks to classic rock. Some residents asked if they could pay to use the pool, but I declined. Running it as a business meant insurance, liability, and headaches I didn't want. Besides, after months of harassment, I owed the HOA nothing. 6 months later, the HOA is a shadow of itself. New board members are trying to rebuild trust, but residents are still angry. The HOA even sent a letter asking to lease the pool land back, claiming it'd be mutually beneficial. I tore it up. I bought my home outside the HOA for peace, and I'm keeping it that way. As for my backyard pool, I'm thinking of turning it into a garden, partly because I don't need 2 pools, and partly because it'd be a final jab at Linda's obsession. Without her here to see it, though, I might just keep it. Looking back, I feel for the residents who lost their pool. Many moved here for that amenity, and it's not their fault they had a power-hungry HOA president. But the blame lies with Linda and the board, not me. If they'd renewed their lease or left me alone, none of this would have happened. I played by the rules, fought back legally, and won. What do you think? Was I wrong to buy the pool and lock out the community, or did the HOA get what it deserved? How would you handle harassment like this? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially about standing up to bullying and injustice in everyday life. Let's hear your take.